You are listening to the Built to Grow podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host, Tim Lyons, in studio, joined, as always, on Election Day, Randy Engstead. What's up, guy?
Hi, buddy.
Did you go out and vote?
I have my vote. I had an early ballot. I just haven't dropped it off yet. So that's my trip home.
On your way home, going to drop it off?
Well, I don't have to wait in line, so.
That's true. Right to the front.
Right to the front.
All right, a couple things to note, y'all. We've got a CLA workshop, the final one for 2020, December 3rd and 4th. This will be the last one of the year. This will also be the last one at this price point. So $24.97 for, I think it's $2,500 for this 2-day workshop with me and you. And next year is going up to $3,000, so $29.97. So if you want to save $500, this would be the one you want to get into. What's the URL for that?
winninggym.com/workshop.
winninggym.com/workshop. Hopefully everybody's having a great 2020. Looking forward to seeing what happens after this this election cycle. Hopefully things settle down and we get back to the way they were before, huh?
I mean, it's just crazy that, even at this point, there's so much unknown that every major city's boarded up.
I know.
And we're sitting here not knowing what tomorrow looks like as the entire state of our country. It's shocking that this is how
it's come down to this.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm excited. For everything, right? Just to move forward with life, not have this be every single other thought everybody's talking about.
Yep. Let's
the
get
text,
it over with.
The social media, the email, everything is the election. So.
Yeah, so let's not talk about that.
Let's move on.
Let's talk about your fitness business. This is a business, by the way. This is not a hobby for you. Well, if you're listening to this, it probably isn't a hobby because you wouldn't be spending time learning and trying to implement things. You had a call the other day. You mentioned this to me, and I thought, man, this would be a great topic because I think this is something that happens, at least at the beginning of everybody's journey from trainer to solopreneur into a business owner and then building a team around it. So take everybody through that call real quick.
And it is a bigger issue than just this call, and I'll kind of touch on that a little bit. But this specific call, newer gentleman in the business for running his fitness business for the first time. He's been a trainer for years, but he's had his business about 3 years.
He has a facility, right?
I believe he had a facility. I don't remember if he had a facility or if he was working out of another facility, but ultimately he had a fitness business that he was growing. The problem was he was still at that solopreneur stage. He didn't have a team. He literally nobody else in his wheelhouse other than a part-time trainer that he could count on just for a couple of sessions. But ultimately the problem was he had some reservations. He was resistant around growing his business because of two things. He felt that in order to, as his business grew, there was no way around the quality of the training slipping or the relationship that he personally had with his client slipping. And so, throughout our call, I kind of let him explain his business and things like that. And then I don't want to say called him out on it, but I went back to that. And I said, why do you feel like those are like mutually exclusive ideas? Why do you feel like you can't add people to the business and yet maintain, a top level of quality of training as well as the relationship or knowing the clients? And ultimately, you can be the face of the business without knowing every detail of your client's life. I know today, most of the clients that walk through the door, and you're not actively on the training floor training every one of them.
Right.
So. Right. I just kind of asked him that, and then it was kind of interesting. It came up in one of our coaching calls, actually, with somebody else. And the thing I found unique here was he is a successful business owner, has a business, does spend a lot of his time working on the business and not just in the business, but he still does maintain time on the training floor. And he, too, still has some reservations around giving up certain clients or giving up clientele and allowing his trainer to step in and train his clients.
Yeah.
There is something about the transition from, and maybe it's just the path of those that are in a full trainer role before becoming the business owner,
right,
that they can't cut that tie. They can't see both sides of the coin and know how to kind of tiptoe that line and do it successfully.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely something that should be talked about.
It is. It's a real concern. Sure.
Because I'm trying to go back to the beginning with me, and I kind of had a little bit of that, like where I didn't, this is your baby. You don't want to bring anybody on the team. Nobody's going to do it as good as you. And as soon as you realize that nobody is going to do it as good as you or care as much as you, once you realize that and you accept it, then you can get past that point. So nobody will care or do or work as hard than the person that's financially on the hook for the business. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, but the other side of that coin is, as a business owner or as a leader, qualities of a good leader is finding the people in the specific roles they're supposed to be doing that know those roles better than you, perhaps, or are capable of executing. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room type of thing. Assemble the team of professionals who are good in those respective areas.
Better than you.
Yeah, so maybe that trainer can execute the training session better than you, but maybe they don't understand how you formulated the program design or how to balance your P&L. Like, that's okay, right? They don't need to be the business owner.
Sure.
But find that exceptional, again, and back to the client experience, and maybe not just the results-driven individual, but the person who can execute that role and responsibility to the best of their ability.
As long as you understand, if you don't make the change, you're never going to scale the business because it's all on your shoulders. If you're willing to accept that, then you stay there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you won't go anywhere because you can only do so much. I mean, what can you do? You can add more people to the hour. I mean, you still only have 8 hours, 10 hours in a day. You can actually physically do this stuff. So you either add more people, you charge more. That's it. I mean, I don't know of anything else.
I mean, or you extend your hours if possible, right? You work more time, so you work more. But
that's all based on the one person doing
exactly
the work. So let's talk about that. So how do you do a great job but be able to scale at the same time? Well, there's a lot of things that we talk about in our coaching program. This is the question that comes up is, how do I train these coaches in a way that they can perform the same, I guess, duties or programming or workouts that I would do? And the answer is really simple. I mean, if you go back to any successful franchise out there in the world, there's trainings, there's systems, there's ways you do things. Yeah, maybe personal training is a little bit more complicated than putting the bun and the burger and the pickles and the thing on there and then you move on.
Moving it down the line.
Yeah. Sure, but everything can be systematized.
100%.
There's car manufacturing plants that are systematized on a conveyor belt, and it's piecing it out. So the big thing when you're doing semi-private training and when you have a team of coaches is to maintain the customer experience no matter who they train with, no matter what time of the day they come in and what coach they're with, their experience is going to be the same. And the only way to do that is obviously training your team.
Yep.
Going over it over and over. We expect this. We expect this. We put our standards. We call it the standard. Our standards in place for every time somebody comes into the gym. Every workout needs to have these things. But the big one is the programming of the workout has to come from the gym.
Exactly.
Has to come from the gym. In the beginning, the early days of Pulse Fitness, we didn't have it come from the gym. The coaches drove the workouts. And I remember sitting in my gym one day, and you may have been there, you probably were, and I was just looking around and seeing what was happening. I'm like, oh my God, This is a complete shit show, because in one corner you had the bodybuilder dude.
Yep.
And he was training these figure girls. In the other corner, he had a CrossFit guy, and he was like going, ham bone on the, Murph or whatever something.
Yeah.
Then you had another coach that was training like 68 to 80-year-olds with bands and everything. I'm like, this is chaos. This is that whole adage, like, we train everybody. That was true.
Absolutely.
Because we had a coach for anybody. We had a sports performance guy, a CrossFit guy, a bodybuilder, a girl that did figure bikini.
Sure, yeah.
And then we had, the geriatric trainer and everything. We could take anybody.
Yeah.
Kids, grandmas, athletes, bodybuilders, powerlifters, CrossFitters. But it was chaos. And
it was.
And as bad as that sounds, it still worked pretty well because all the coaches were pretty professional. They were very tenured, independent style coaches that had been around the block a couple times. they kind of knew everybody and they worked around each other just fine. But from the business standpoint, you don't know what you're getting that day.
Well, and not only that, but as we go back to the business and the way that was structured and the pay scale and the things like that, ultimately the business was the last to eat, you know? And so the ability to sustain that for the long term.
Oh, we had to change.
That was exactly why you're sitting in this seat today.
We had to change immediately. And that only lasted less than a year.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. I pumped the brakes. Something's not, doesn't add up. The dollars and cents don't add up. So we took it in-house. We took the training over. We took our programming over. We had one coach that was designing the programs, and we would go over the programs every week with our team, and we would talk about the workouts and the scaling up and down. And we morphed into this, you know, what we are today, and that's a training team that works as a team. Any client could train with any coach. The programming comes up from the top down, and everybody's on the same page. And that's how you maintain the coaching and the customer experience that the guy you were talking to didn't know how to do.
Yep, absolutely.
But I had to let go of it, and we had to let the team take over, and we had to find the right team, because you get some bad apples in there, just like you're just going to have to figure out, you know, as this goes. And guys, update. We just had a great interview with a new coach. We like her. We'll probably give her an offer today, but I know everybody was like, man, I'm sorry to hear, you know, about the chaos.
It's so, the staffing side.
Yeah, everybody's like, man, I'm sorry to hear that, dude. It happened to me too, not that long ago, because, you know, a couple episodes I was talking about the chaos with our staff, and yeah, it happens to us too. So, yeah. I don't know what it is, but there isn't a whole lot of coaches out there looking for work for some reason.
A couple of things based on your last point. I know that there's a couple of things that we talk about traditionally when it comes to teaching somebody a task or a role. I know that, like, you've got a certain belief, like when somebody is capable of taking over a role, you know, and successfully managing that role, how do you go about handling or delegating that? You know what I'm getting at?
Well, yeah, it's a big deal. Like, it's almost like you've been knighted. When I let you do, like, when I give you the responsibility of this, like at the training level, like, you know, Zach, you're in charge now. It's a step up. Like, that they take that seriously.
Ownership
of it, and they own it, and they take it, and they do well with it. I probably am not the best person for, you know, if you go back to that whole HR and performance reviews and stuff. If the job's getting done, you know, great. If it's not, I'll let you know. Like, it's not the right way to do it. I'm the worst at it. In fact, Zach's even worse than I am. he should. We talked about it not that long ago. We got to get back to these performance reviews, because it's just needed. But yeah, you have to give that feedback loop. How am I doing? Especially when you have a new coach. When you have a new coach, you have to be on top of them for at least the first 6 months of their play. I mean, until you can just let them off and, you know, check in with them every so often. But yeah, I don't do a very good job at it. Not the best at it, but having that responsibility given to them, they know it's a big deal, and they take ownership of it. So it's great. But yeah, having performance reviews, I would highly suggest that, especially in the first 6 months, and then do it quarterly or biannually or annually after that. I think you'll be all right.
Agreed.
So there you have it, guys. If you want to scale, you've got to give up responsibility. When I did that, that's when we shot off. When I got out of the way, I didn't realize it. I was the linchpin. What is that?
You're the linchpin in the business. That's what I was thinking about.
Bottleneck of the business, because everybody felt like they had to get approval through me. And when I started letting people take responsibility and make decisions, we talk about this a million times on the show. My whole thing is, I want you to make a decision. I'm more excited when you make a decision, even if it's wrong, than no decision.
Yes.
Because when you don't make a decision, you're standing still.
Nothing happens.
Yeah, and if you're waiting on me just to tell you yes or no, then you're not the right person.
Yeah, you probably have enough, within you to make that decision.
Yeah.
So I agree.
So putting trust in your team is absolutely imperative. But for that gentleman that you're talking about, I think just breeding the team up from the ground up and training and holding their hand and showing them the ropes and then finally letting them go, because I think essentially people want that responsibility. They don't want to just be told what to do. They want to have the ability to make decisions and do things on their own and just be rewarded or corrected along the way. And just that's the point, is you have to let go.
Yeah. And I think ultimately too, another thing is, if you find yourself in that position and you know that's like the awareness is there, guys, that you have to make a decision. I mean, the conversation that I had with him, I mean, he had been working with a coach who had given him, I mean, this gentleman was so self-aware of the problem that he had in his business, and he was still 100% frozen on making a decision. So his business will not change for the better until he decides to kind of get out of his own way and do what he knows he needs to do despite what he feels he needs to do. He needs to, juggle those priorities and understand that, the need to scale far, far outweighs the chance that his results are going to slip or that he's going to not know the people walking through his front door. Those are what ifs.
And you don't have to do it all at the same time.
Absolutely.
You can slowly bleed clients off and let them work with another coach for a while and check in versus, all right, they're all yours. See you. I'll see you next week. That, you don't have to do it that way.
And that's exactly it.
You got to make a decision. Or maybe your decision is not to grow.
Also true. But then you'd be damn happy and you would be on the phone with us trying to figure out how to
fix it.
Yeah. So
there you guys go. There you go. All right. Well, that's it for this show, guys. Until next episode, go sign up for CLA. Keep changing lives. Bye.